What's good, world? You're now rocking with your boy Callahan, Cali, Calico, whichever one you choose to want to call me. Brooklyn coated but polished. You already know what it is. About to get into it. This is one of my favorite subjects and topics, of course. All of them are, but this right here is the deep-rooted, true fundamental tools that we all was given. We went to school for this. This is the deep-rooted tools of what makes human beings and people sharpen their journey, sharpen their mind, sharpen their assertiveness, sharpen the way that they move in life when they interact with other human beings and other people. This topic is amazing. This subject, I love it. Sociology and science was one of my two favorite subjects. Social studies, I did love overall, but of course, not everything in social studies, as far as what's in the books that they had taught us in school, is extremely accurate. Um, Not all of it. So, it was always good to learn social studies and to learn about history and stuff like that. Of course, that's very important, as we all know. But for the most part, certain things in there, sometimes in books, and certain things you read, don't always believe everything you read. Just like they say, don't always believe everything you hear. Don't always believe in everything that you read. Not everything that you read is extremely accurate, of course. So sociology. I have a thick Brooklyn accent. So that's the fundamental, the true, deep-rooted fundamental tools, subject of tools that we was taught in junior high school, of course, going into high school, and of course in college. And it's really bad and unfortunate and really sad that none of us as human beings take the time out to really thoroughly uh, do the homework, do the work as far as implementing these great tools, this great subject. Sociology is the core of what makes humans humans. Sociology is around all of us. It's really sad that no one takes the time out in general, not saying all, but a good large percentage of people don't take the time out to really implement all that greatness and great education and real deep rooted information that's really valuable and beneficial to us, that was that the things that make us better human beings. We don't use it. For the most part, I do. For the most part. Am I perfect? No. I haven't used all of every single last part of that beautiful education, because I was in the streets. I was ripping and running. I was doing what I wanted to do. I was gravitating toward the streets. I was very much into the streets. I was very much more attractive to the streets. I always had the best of both worlds. Always had the best of both worlds to the fullest. So like I was saying, I was very drawn to the streets. Like I had the best of both worlds. I was taught right. I got a beautiful family. Up to this day, I got family that's extremely intelligent, real talk. They went to school as well. They had the best of both worlds. But as far as the males, we was just drawn to the streets. We was drawn more to the streets. Like it was a very magnetic attraction. You know what I mean? Us being drawn to the streets, we leaned more towards the streets. The streets was very intriguing. Especially it was very much aligned, very identically aligned with our personalities, our character, organically, not trying to be something we not, like some of the others that really are like that, but like naturally how we was born with that East New York, Brooklyn flavor to the deepest core. You feel me? And it's a large percentage of guys out there that's like that, of course. and all over the city that's from the city, let alone in New York State or any other state for that matter where you from, where there's a hood or a ghetto or whatever. It's just something about the streets that really, really attract us like a motherfucker. And it fit me perfect. So even though I was very educated, the streets was my wife. You know what I'm saying? Very much. And so this topic and this subject as far as sociology is very important. You know, this is the topic that we were supposed to for a large percentage of us that was supposed to take upon and take up on gracefully, embrace it, and really use those true great fundamental tools. So what is sociology? Sociology is a scientific study of human society, social behavior, relationships, institutions, of course, and culture. I'm going to say that again. So, as I was saying, sociology is the scientific study of human society, social behavior, relationships, institutions, and culture, of course. The key idea: humans don't act in isolation. Our environment, culture, and social system shapes our actions. So, what we've been taught, how we was raised, we was taught to use the bathroom, we was taught to brush our teeth, we was taught to wash our behinds, we was taught to read, to comprehend. We went to the institutions as far as school. That's what they're built for, to get an education. All these things, of course, was mapped out for us and was built for us for these specific reasons, for us to learn. And unfortunately, a large percentage of us don't learn a goddamn thing, obviously. Or even if we do learn, we real rebellious and refuse to fucking take heed to what was gracefully and greatly taught to us. Um, so like the culture, you know what I mean? Caucasian white culture, African American black culture, Mongoloid culture, which in that category of Mongoloids, of course, which is like, you know, Native American descent, um, Korean descent, Chinese, Japanese descent. So that's it, like that's Mongoloid. Of course, Negroid is us, of course. Um, in Caucasoid, which is the Caucasian white people, of course. So all these different type of cultures and different type of ways of learning different type of cultures besides your own. And the key fundamental educated areas and knowledge of to know about, not only just your own culture, but also of that of the other cultures of as well. So that way it helps us to grow more mentally and to help us, get a better understanding of how that other culture works and how they move, rather, comparison to us learning about ourselves and our culture and things of that nature. And then all the other social systems, of course, social media, the digital world, of course, learning how to work. They have training. They train you during these jobs. Then you have the other type of training as far as trade school. When you get your certificate and things like that. Um, what else? Church. Things like that. Church and stuff like that. So these are all great fundamental tools and stuff to learn. You know what I'm saying? So um, the takeaway, of course, is to understand people, you must understand the system they live in. Like I was just saying, without even me getting to that part, I was just discussing about learning about other cultures. And unfortunately, in the Caucasoid culture,
especially back all the way in those times in the 1960s, 1950s, where, you know, uh, in the 1940s, where Jim Crow was even much more alive and kicking, and those type of people was extremely ignorant, where they didn't take time out to learn about the African American black culture. They already had their minds made up that we was the outcasts, we was aliens, we was, anything else but human, anything else but American. You know what I'm saying? They had their minds made up about our culture from jump. That's why they treated us the way they treated us. Now, if they would have implemented this subject of sociology very well, passionately and compassionately well, if they would have really did their homework and really did they very well educated learning, and took those key parts out to educate themselves even much more as the Caucasian race, and took that time out thoroughly and was very, very analytic in doing so, of educating themselves thoroughly well, they could have gathered how very extremely unique and beautiful, magnanimously great that this culture is as far as being black. If they would have took time out to really do their homework, if they wasn't as ignorant and clueless and, dumbfounded and uneducated, of course, because they was. They swear they wasn't, but they was. I'm not going to keep going on about that and turn it into something else, but you get my idea. Um, so learning about the environment, the cultures, of course, the social systems. You know what I'm saying? To understand people, you must understand the systems that they live in. So, and that goes for any culture for that matter, whether if you're Spanish, whether if you're Black African American, whether if you're Caucasian, whether if you're Native American, whether if you're Indian from the country India, if you're Bangladeshian, if you're African from the motherlands of Africa, or regarding what part of Africa, but just being African, period. If you want to learn about another one's culture and the system of their culture and the way things work within their culture, you got to be more receptive to doing your homework and paying attention, being more analytic, being more optimistic, if you will. Have an open mind. Be very, very, and be very consciously aware and be more involved mentally as far as the information and experience that you want to obtain regarding another one's culture, as far as getting a really deep, great mutual understanding of one's other culture and how things work and stuff like that. And unfortunately, it's really sad because a large percentage of people really don't care. Like, they don't take these important educated tools. Sociology is the beautiful. This is the baby right here. This is what have us become better people, to understand other cultures, other people. Even if you don't want to deal with that person or those people, but obtaining and grasping this education right here, educational tool as far as this topic of sociology, this will help you very much a long way to have a better understanding of a whole lot of things that go on around you. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. So, um, the sociological imagination core tool, this is what I call it. The sociological imagination core tool. Definition: the ability to connect personally experiences with larger social forces. Meaning, example, personal problem, unemployed. Social issue, economic downturn. The formula, obviously, is, of course, personal troubles plus social structure equals sociological understanding. Your story never just your story, it's part of a larger social pattern. So your story is not just only your story, and it's never just only your story because there's tons of people out there, of course, all over collectively that can relate for a fact as them being human beings just like you, them living in this wilderness that we call North America, which I call it white America. Of course, I don't just call it America. It's that America and white America is totally two different things. So if you don't know about that, then get educated about that. No disrespect. Um, so yeah, your story, even no matter how drastic it is, no matter how drastic it is, no matter how impactful of drastic and catastrophic and tragic it may be, there's always somebody out there that for a fact that can relate just as much as with your situation as you can, of course. And there's other situations that can be much more, five times, well, 500 times more catastrophic and tragic more than yours, and not negating your situation, but that's just a prime example that you're not the only one in this existence that's going through something. All of us as a human race has been through something. Some have been through uh, more catastrophic situations, or more tragic situations, more not so good situations, bad situations more than others. But that still don't negate yours. It's just to let you know that you're not in this alone. So again, the three core perspectives of sociology, like I was saying: structural functionalism. Society is a system of interdependent parts working together. Interdependent parts working together. The focus, stability, order, institutions. Example of institutions: family, of course, education, government, religion. Society works like a machine. Every piece has a function. Every piece has components, have a function that needs to be placed in a correct order, whether we want to accept that or not. And that's why it's a large percentage of things, of course, that's in disarray the way that they always have been in disarray and in chaos for so many long years. It's like we are giving the beautiful, simple tools. It's not saying, oh, you gotta really be on some martial law, you gotta really be on some like a robot or anything like that. But these basic fundamental educational tools that can help us to become better human beings in every aspect of the word, we choose not to implement these important tools that's given to us. The conflict theory is, to me, is not a theory though. Society is shaped by power struggles and inequality. That's not a theory to me. That's a fact. The focus areas, excuse me, wealth, inequality, class power, race and social justice, of course, political control. So all of this is not a theory. I don't understand what the theory shit is. History often moves through conflict between groups competing for power. That is a whole entire fact. A trillion and 10 hands down. The symbolic interaction focuses on everyday interactions and meanings. People create society through languages, of course, symbols, gestures, shared meanings, handshakes, of course, universal uh, meaning and stuff like, well, universal greetings and stuff like that. Um, yeah, so it's deep, man. Example, like I said, a handshake, a slang, or a logo that carries social meaning, of course. Society is built through daily human interactions. That is a fact. The major social institutions organize society and guide behavior. Institution, of course, like I said, family, the role, socialization, and emotional support, family, education, knowledge, skills, cultural values, economy, production, work, resources, of course, government, order, law, leadership, religion, belief, moral guidance, and of course the media, which is very influential in any aspect, whether it's the news or the internet, the digital world falls that type of social media or media. Institutions are architectural of society. Socialization, definition, the lifelong process through which individuals learn norms, values, and behaviors of society. Of course, like when we are teenagers, kids are like sponges. So when we are young, it all starts from home, of course. It all starts from home. Don't get it twisted. So before you finally step out to society and stuff like that and go out there into the real world, you're taught what you're taught when you're home, when you're a child, a baby, when your parents teach you what they teach you. Well, if it's wrong, right, and different, or they teaching you more wrong, they not really educating you properly, whatever the case is, it always start from home. So before you finally, as you get older and you step out that door, you are taught what you are taught from home. Unless you're in a situation where you have both parents, of course, that's strung out, you from the hood, you from poverty, really deep from poverty, and you have two parents that were strung out on real hardcore drugs. They both passed away, and while you was at a young age, or even if they were still alive, but the dynamics of your situation was so great and so catastrophic to the point where DHS came and took you away, or excuse me, DSS came and took you away, and you went through the system. The system raised you. You bounced from group home, to foster home, or group home to group home. Especially if you didn't get a family who wanted you yet or who adopted you, but you're bouncing from the institutions of group homes to group home. And then you ran away from one of those group homes and finally, never looked back, never went back to a group home. And then you allowed the streets to continue to raise you. And then you started getting into all types of craziness. And basically, the streets mold you very, very, very deeply well in that process, and things didn't turn out great, so great, unfortunate, and that unfortunately, that really does happen to a lot of you know kids, and that's real. I mean, that ain't no crock of shit. um yeah, the values, behaviors, so everything that you taught, what I mean, kids are like sponges. What I mean, teenagers are not, their minds are still not fully developed. They're very impulsive. They rebellious. They also, need guidance. They're going through very deep hormonal stages. So it's a lot that they're going through. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot that you got to consider and take into consideration. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of strong leaders out there as they claim to be strong leaders and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we don't have those ones that claim that they're strong leaders, so quick to dress it up on the surface. But I always been a firm believer in actions speak louder than words. I'm so big on that. You can do this all day until you blue in the face or yellow or green or whatever. But if your actions are very much showing totally the opposite from what you preaching or from what you putting out there or what you trying to say, then I don't want nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So when you so quick to be one of those righteous leaders, activism leaders, and you saying this and saying that and saying this, but you not really reaching the teens, you not really reaching the youngins. Why? I don't know. Most, I mean, in overall, in somewhat, I know the answer to that because some of these activism people who are activists, they so busy looking pretty in the camera and showing how on the surface how politically, you know, perfect they're looking for the camera and all of that, you know, for the other politicians. They're not smack dead deep middle in the hood, in the community. They on a pedestal talking about that community stuff. But they're not deep dead smack in the middle of that community, like really getting dirty with the community, so to speak. And I ain't talking about with crime and none of that stuff, but basically connecting with the true community. A large percentage of the activists, they not do. It's a large percentage of them that still that are out there that are doing that, but it is still as a very big, large, the other half of that percentage of them that they just all talk. They just like to look pretty in they nice little suits and stuff, and stand up there, be in Congress or stand in those nice buildings and in them offices. They're not helping the kids or even the adults in the community, by offering them jobs, but offering them a position. You know what I'm saying? As far as to start off with programs, things like that can get you in the door for starters. Like it might not be exactly you know, where they're at, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, you giving them that outlet. And we need more of that. You know what I mean? We need more community. We need more of what we had back in our time where we had a village, what we call a village. You know what I'm saying? Same thing like a community. Same thing. We just called a village, but you know what I mean? That was that old school saying. But, same thing, community, village. Um, we are not born social. We are trained into society. I said it way before, which you're taught. It all starts from home. How you're taught to use the bathroom, brush your teeth, wash your ass. How you're taught to have manners. How you're taught to respect women. How you're taught to respect your elders. How you're taught to go to school. How you're taught to pay attention when it comes down to learning about directions and being consciously aware of your surroundings when you're out there outside and know where you are at all times when you go to certain places and stuff like that, and know how to dress. Um, taught to be safe. You know what I'm saying? When you have the birds and the bees talk, when you're talking about, you know, sex and stuff like that, being taught to be safe, being very educated in all these areas and being taught in all these areas of how to carry yourself properly as a human being when you're conducting yourself and when you're moving forward within your life, within society as a human being. Social, social stratification. Definition: the ranking of people into layers of power, wealth, and status, of course, class, race, gender, education, occupation, all of this come into play, and it comes in a lot of more of um, it comes more into play with the with the race and social justice facts. So it comes more into play with that. You know what I'm saying? So and the class would be as far as um poverty, poverty level. Then the you have the poverty level, of course, and you have the upper class. Then you have the middle upper class, and then you have the lower class, which is the poverty level. And all of that comes into play, of course. Your occupation comes into play, education, depending on what type of education you got, that depends on what type of job that you're qualified for, that they feel you're qualified for. If you do get into trouble when you go to prison or you get a record, that definitely plays a big part. Even though up to this day that they got so many outlets and so many programs and so many great things and door openers for people that have a past and a criminal past or whatever, or even if you just came home, you know, s- you will luck you will be in luck in some situations, but collectively as a whole, it's still the same as it was way back then, where even after Obama passed that bill, 2015, if I'm not mistaken, 2014 or 2015, October of 2015, when he passed that bill, or 2014 of October when he passed that bill, that no job for a fact ain't supposed to discriminate and supposed to use your criminal past as an excuse and as a weapon to keep you from getting a job and judge you on your past. And of course, these places still do it. A large percentage of these places, even the ones that on the surface that be so quick to say, "Oh, our company is so diverse," they be with a big smile trying to sell it to you. Oh, especially if you're African American, they'll sell it to you quick. Oh yeah, we're so diverse, and we're so happy. We'll be so lucky and happy to have you on board, and we're so diverse, and we're looking forward to bringing you on board with us, and we're looking forward to working with you. And yeah, our company has known to be so diverse for so many long years, and we came even much more of a long way, and blah blah blah, and but it's just a smokescreen is a smokescreen. And that culture, those people so quick to call me and mines, in general, we are liars or they don't trust us, but they lie to you blatantly to your face. Definitely. And then we have defiance. Definition: behavior that violates social norms. Important ideas. Defiance is relative. It depends on culture and time. Example: tattoos once seen as defiant, now widely accepted. Defiance often drives social change, of course. The social change, societies consistently evolves. And drivers of change, technology, economics, social movements, globalization, demographic shifts. Example: digital revolution, civil rights movements, remote work culture. So we're gonna stop right there and let that sink in, of course. And so this was like a little brief education segment um episode, and I love the fact that I did this. I wish more people would do this on a podcast. I don't who knows, there probably is a podcast that definitely does things like this, think outside the box. and stuff like this. But I'm gonna just, call it a wrap. And the next episode is gonna be on poly. I can't wait to do that episode. So, you know, look forward to doing that and speaking on those poly relationships. And it's deep. It goes deep. It's very educational. Very educational. You'd be surprised, like the real truth and real education based upon that lifestyle. It's not like back in the long days of how certain people how they portrayed it as, where it looked at more it stood out and looked more like something extremely negative on some cult type shit, but that's not the case. Those was just batshit crazy people that just happened to was doing poly or whatever, or having poly relationships. But that's going to be the next episode, episode 6. So other than that, until next time, love, peace, and soul. Don't do nothing I wouldn't do. If you're in a part of the region of the world where it's cold, stay warm. Um, you know what I'm saying? Be safe. Don't do nothing I definitely wouldn't do for sure. And stay out of trouble. Take care of your kids. Teach your kids. Teach them right. Don't teach them ratchet garbage. Teach them the real, true, uh, very educated, fundamental ways to teach a child of to get very educated, to be very educated in a real proper way, so that way they do not wind up like another statistic. Especially when it comes down to our culture of Black African Americans, we got to break that cycle. So other than that, man, love, peace, and soul. And until next time, peace.